Okay, so we are now at the last session of the day, but guess what? This is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting, really interesting. This is about leveraging national branding opportunities, the power of mega events for hotel development and what this means for Africa. And to introduce this session, I'm very pleased to bring to the stage Nicolas Pompigne-Mognard. I hope that pronunciation was good. Nicolas is a Franco-Gabonese self-made entrepreneur and the founder and chairman and the owner of the APO Group, which is the leading Pan-African communications consultancy and press release distribution service. Yay! Okay, take it away, Nicolas.
I don't have audio?
Yeah,
I have audio.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask my guest to join me here. John Manyo-Plange, Vice President, Head of Strategy Operation at Basketball Africa League. John, you're going to tell us what is the Basketball Africa League, what is the link with the NBA, and how your competition is impacting the hospitality industry in Africa. Hi, John. We have Jennings, the Group Chief Operating Officer of Event Horizon, which is operating Afro Nation, the largest Afrobeat festival. We have Nelly Mukazayire, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Convention Bureau, which is organizing all the events in Rwanda. We have Kyle John Scofield, which is the Director of QA Venue Solution, which is in venue management, operating the BK Arena. And we have Robin Tchale-Watchou, the CEO of Vivendi Sport, which is going to tell us a few things about the Africa Cup of Nations, the Rugby World Cup, etc. No, that's mine. That would be mine. Please, have a seat. So, Nelly. Nelly, is your audio okay? Can we hear
Hello?
Nelly?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Nelly, please, I want you to explain to us briefly what is Rwanda Convention Bureau. Does it belong to the government, and what is it you're doing?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Nicolas, for this question. Rwanda Convention Bureau is a private company that has been created by government following the intentional policy that the government of Rwanda had of boosting tourism revenues by looking at the sector of MICE industry, or what other people call business events. So the main role of Rwanda Convention Bureau is to be the leg of destination marketing. We do a lot of destination marketing of Rwanda as a MICE place. And the second aspect we do also is to play a role of one-stop center for whoever is bringing an event in Rwanda. Establish the contact with local suppliers, with government institutions, with other players in the industry. So that's mainly about Rwanda Convention Bureau.
I understand your country is actually big in event, right? It's important. You have a strategy, you have a plan, there is a vision. I believe Rwanda Convention Bureau is part of the Rwanda Development Board, which itself is part of the Office of the President.
Yes.
So it's a long-term plan, long-term strategy vision here.
Yes, indeed. The creation of Rwanda Convention Bureau, which happened in 2015, but it started in 2017 to be operational, indeed was mandated by the President and adopted by the Cabinet, and we work close with Rwanda Development Board. So we are part of the implementation aspect of the policy of tourism boosting in the country. So
you have a strategy directed toward hosting as many events as possible. Can you give us a few figures? I mean, in the recent, years or whatever.
Yes. Thank you. We have a strategy, a long-term one, and the first figures we had were, the milestones were 2017 to now 2025. And over the past 5 years, I would count up to 2019, we had hosted 200, in the year of 2019, we had 220 events in 1 year, and around 50,000 delegates, that the MICE delegates that had visited the country. And the revenues we had generated around $65 million US. And when you look at the tourism in general, by 2019 we had 1.6 million visitors that visited the country, with a generation of $498 million US. And that showed the performance up to that year. So for the year 2025, we are looking at 800 million. That's the projection in terms of tourism revenues. And the MICE segment is supposed to contribute around 106 million to that year. So those are some of key figures you look at when you talk of the performance of the segment of MICE, which was a completely new segment in the market.
So Nelly, I will come back to you later because I want you to tell us about the investment opportunity for hospitality business and how also it's easy for hospitality industry to do business, invest in Rwanda. I'll move to Robbins. So Robbins, you are the CEO of Vivendi Sport, subsidiary of Vivendi Group, 16 billion turnover, revenue in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So Universal Music Group, Havas, etc., etc. You are also deeply involved in sport, like you're a member of the board of the Rugby World Cup in Paris, but you're also organizing the Africa Cup of Nations 2023.
24 now.
2024. Okay. Well, can you tell us more about Vivendi Sport and what you're doing?
Okay, thank you, Nicolas. As you mentioned before, Vivendi Sport, it is a subsidiary of Vivendi, but your mission, your work based on two pillars. First, we organize sport event and international sport competition, either to broadcast the content on the various different channels we own, or for the third party, brands, institution, or federation. We also give some advice or services to institutions, national and international, when they need to think the strategy or to build some infrastructure, so some sustainable infrastructure, and we also help them to raise some money to put some money in place.
And so one of the things you are doing, as I said, is organizing the next Africa Cup of Nations. So some people refer to the AFCON, Africa Cup of Nations, as the largest sport event in Africa. But someone told me recently that, in fact, you can delete sport from the sentence. It's actually the largest event period in Africa, right?
No. It's a fact. I think the AFCON, the Africa Cup of Nations, is the most bigger event in the continent.
So give us a few figures.
You are fitting now. You have 24 countries involved. You have 5 cities, host city. You have 11,000 volunteers.
So only the volunteers?
Only.
11,000.
11,000. You have maybe 255 or 254 companies, national and international, provide services. So it's very big event. And the challenge here, if you talk about hospitality, for example, to achieve, you need to provide in 1 month for all those people, maybe 25,000 beds for the first two weeks, and need to give some accommodation, so some food, some solution for the mobility. So it's quite big.
Okay. Well, this is big. Thank you, Robbins. Kyle,
yes.
QA venue. So venue like venue management.
Correct.
So you are. What is your industry? What is it you do exactly?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and managing director for QA Venue Solutions. The business was really established to manage these iconic entertainment and sports venues across the continent. I was fortunate enough to work with the NBA, going across the continent, establishing programs. But one of the clear opportunities, and equally could be a problem, is the fact that there's the millions of dollars, and I'd argue it's maybe even into the billions, where infrastructure is being developed for arenas, stadiums, but no long-term vision. No long-term vision on what these things can become, and the power it has to actually catalyze the surrounding economy. So QA Venue Solutions was established to solve that issue, and really was going into spaces to commercialize and create the foot traffic that can then go on to encourage development around the space and the entire ecosystem that we see. We see these models in the US. LA Live is a really good example in Los Angeles, where that arena that was developed has gone on to so many developments across retail, office, hotels, and so on. And we really think, there's big events like Robin's just mentioned. I know we'll discuss BAL coming up. These are mega events that are bringing a massive amount of people into the space. And it's important that we create the base for the events to happen.
So yeah, you call that, that's how it's called, and you refer to that all the time, anchor
tenant.
Anchor tenant.
Yeah.
And so give us a few figures about the venue, the main venue you're managing, because you're managing several, the BK Arena, the Kigali Arena.
Yes.
What are the figures for the next 12 months or something?
Yeah, look, I must admit, I took the anchor tenant phrase from the retail industry, and I think it definitely applies to what we're doing. If you have the ability to bring 500,000 people to one space in a year period, and that's your base point, the numbers can only go up from there. You are an anchor tenant, and so you start to encourage, like I say, the development around it. But looking at the BK Arena, a very unique situation, and I think we have to give kudos to the team at RCB and the government as a whole. They've created a platform for these businesses like ourselves to really go and prove this model of the arena business. And that's because all the infrastructure that surrounds it supports this idea of catalyzing the economy. So if we look at BK Arena coming out of COVID, we took the arena over in the middle of COVID. A lot of people thought we were crazy, but it proved successful. We aligned with the government. We hosted over 72 events coming out of COVID in 2021. We had...
So sorry, I want you to repeat that. So in the year 2021, how many events have you organized? 72. So how many days of occupation of your...
So that's the thing is, when we talk about an event, that's an event. An event could be over multiple days.
Exactly.
And we had 235 days of activity in that building in 2021.
I'm not a specialist at all, but it seems huge to me. Is it the average in your industry? Like usually...
It's not an average. I think it speaks to the positioning from a Rwanda perspective. How COVID was handled in the market is second to none. And so you had this situation where all the event owners turned their attention for a period of time to Rwanda, and you've also got the institution like RCB that's consistently looking for events to bring into the market. So we were in a situation where, and to date, I'm waiting for figures of an arena that's outperformed the BK Arena in 2021, because the numbers were astronomical.
You mean in Africa or in the world?
I would argue the globe.
So
I'm waiting.
You are here on the main stage of AHIF stating that, to your knowledge,
exactly.
the BK Arena is the arena
Absolutely.
which actually has the highest rate of occupation in 2021. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
we perfected this and again, with the BAL, we perfected this thing called the bubble. And I lived in a bubble for 2021, and that proved to be successful. It created an opportunity.
Then tell us about the potential. Then you think there is potential? I mean, you think what about those arena? And there are 54 countries in Africa. So what do you think?
Yeah, there's massive opportunity. I mean, we see a trend across the continent where these new cities are being developed, right? Now, a new city, if I speak of myself personally, I'd like to go work in a new city, but I'm going to go straight back home. The minute you start to create the ecosystem, create the entertainment, create the spaces for people to be in, you start to draw people into that city. So I think there's a bigger play with regards to what we are doing. It's not only just to commercialize the spaces, but it's also to turn the idea of what we currently have with governments, where they build these spaces for one event and then they leave it, and if it deteriorates, it deteriorates. And
so we'll go back to that. So Kyle, thank you. You're moving a lot of people to Kigali for all your events. A lot of events you organize.
Absolutely.
Someone else which is moving a lot of people is Jason here. With Event Horizon. So Event Horizon is not, the name Event Horizon doesn't really ring a bell, I guess, but Afro Nation does. Afro Nation is the largest Afrobeat festival. I was there, I attended, and so you had like 40,000 people during 3 consecutive days. But that's nothing compared to the number of people Event Horizon is actually moving, right?
Yeah, so we, just in 3 days of show, we did 576,000 room nights in Portugal across 9 days of show.
So can you say that again, please?
576,000 room nights.
Okay, that's close to 600K.
It's close to 600K.
Room nights.
It's close to 600.
How many days show, you said?
9 days of show.
Okay. So, and again, that's only Afro Nation.
That was Afro Nation.
But now tell me about Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
So all your assets.
We move 600,000 to 700,000 customers a year around the globe.
6,000 to 7,000.
100,000.
100,000. Oh.
Yeah.
600,000 to 700,000.
Yes.
So in my book, it's close to 1 million then.
Right.
Okay.
That's the target. A million people would be the target. We do over 400 events a year. We do a mixture of events around the globe, different locations, different countries, working with different tourism boards, different local hospitality businesses and industries. Africa is our main focus for the next decade. So
I want you to tell us a bit more about that. Africa is your main focus for the next decade.
Yes.
Why?
It's the new frontier, tourism.
Why? How?
It's 1.2, 1.3 billion of people who've got an untapped tourism industry.
Okay. Okay.
It's huge.
And so, what is your? I mean, you think it's a future? You are investing in that. You have a strategy.
If you think about it from a tourism perspective, you have lots of Western Europeans, people on the east coast of America, flying over Africa to go to Thailand, Far East, Asia. They fly over Africa with all the same beautiful places, culture, everything, and don't go there on holiday. For us, we use our events to become part of the local narrative to improve the tourism industry long term. That's what we do. We've been doing it for nearly 12 years now in various guises. And Africa's our main target for the next 10 years.
So business-wise, let's talk like business. You do consider Africa has a huge potential?
Huge potential, huge. Working with the Rwanda Convention Bureau and the GTA in Ghana. We've got Afro Nation in Ghana in 7 weeks. We know that the potential is there, and we're trying to help realise that potential, both from a financial point of view from our company, but also we're part of a bigger narrative here, which is to grow the tourism on the continent.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll come back to you, Jason, later, because I know you have a strong idea about how the hospitality industry could take advantage of that huge potential you just described, right? Yeah. Manyo, you're on the other side, right? So Manyo, you are with BAL, Basketball Africa League.
Correct.
But in fact, it's NBA, right?
Yes.
Explain that to us.
So the Basketball Africa League is one of the 5 affiliate leagues of the NBA. So when you think of the NBA, you have the NBA, WNBA, the G League, the 2K League, and now you have the BAL. And the BAL is the only one of those that is played and produced and housed outside of North America. And so when you think about it, a global brand like the NBA, when they were looking to put their physical footprint and plant their flag outside of North America, Africa was where they chose to do that. Why is that? And I think, you know, the important thing to note is, as Jason was saying, you have 1.3 billion people. And, you know, even though, unlike a China, where that's all under one umbrella, one country, this is chopped up into 54 different countries. But if you have the right product and you have the right people and you have the right mindset and it's a long-term vision, you can actually take advantage of that 1.3 billion people as a legitimate market for your product. And for us, this has been a long time coming. The BAL is part of NBA Africa. So I actually moved to Johannesburg in 2010 to launch NBA Africa. And we essentially built and developed the foundation for the sport and the business of the NBA on the African continent. As part of that, we decided a couple of years ago that we had to launch a premier elite basketball product that was on the African continent. And the reason why that's important is, one of our programs called Basketball Without Borders. It's a program where we bring in, the top 100 kids from around the continent. They get NBA level training, coaching, etc. And during one of our life skills programs, a young kid from Egypt stood up and asked us the question, what happens to those of us that don't make it? And we sort of looked around at each other and said, what do you mean by don't make it? And to him, not being successful meant staying in Africa. He deemed success as being plucked out of the African continent before he would deem himself successful. Right then and there, we decided it was important for us to create a product that was on the African continent, showcasing African talent.
So NBA is, what is interesting is NBA, unlike FIFA or World Rugby or whatever, the IOC or UCI, whatever, those are sport federations. You are a corporation, a company.
Correct.
And so the Basketball Africa League, I mean, it's okay to describe it as a subsidiary or a region or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a subsidiary of the NBA and one of the 5 affiliate leagues of the NBA.
Okay. Can you give us figures in terms of the BAL? How many teams? How many people? I think it's 6 locations. Is it 6 locations?
No. So we and part of this has been an evolution because we launched in the middle of the pandemic, right? So we couldn't, fly teams around and do what the original plan was. So we chose Rwanda to launch because when we looked at the African continent, in fact, when you look globally, there wasn't a single country that was handling the pandemic as well as that country did. And so we had a partnership with the government there and essentially created a bubble. And those of you that have heard of the, NBA had a bubble, the WNBA had a bubble, G League, and a couple of other sports had tried it, but, a lot of them failed. But with the help of the Rwandan government, we were able to establish a bubble that was successful in not having a single game being delayed because of COVID. So launching in that environment, we then in season 2 decided to expand. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, though it was kind of on its way out. And so we played in 3 countries. We played in Senegal, we played in Egypt, and then we played the finals in Rwanda.
If we go back to hospitality, how many people? So, for instance, the last edition, how many people are you flying around with your suppliers, with et cetera, et cetera? How many hotels, bedrooms, whatever, et cetera? Do you?
So we move around the continent with about 1,000 people between staff, the teams, vendors, team personnel. Fans-wise, we have we project that next edition, we're going to about 100,000 fans that will watch live basketball games. And then out of that, about 50% of that will come from outside the continent. And that's a key point because one of the critical reasons for launching the BAL is the idea that the African ecosystem produces a lot of talent in the creative industries spaces, right? Between football players, basketball players, artists, musicians, etc. But the actual economics of that industry is actually housed outside of Africa. Yeah. And so we feel our reason to be is to actually help create that infrastructure here so that some of that economic value can actually be captured by those creative industry people without having to leave the continent.
We'll come back to that. I know Amadou Galofal, which we say hi to Amadou, is big on this. Nelly, I come back to you. So you told us about what is it you are doing, etc. So tell us a bit more about the investment opportunity. So here we are in front of some, hospitality, senior executive, etc. What are the opportunity in Rwanda, and how easy is it to invest in Rwanda, let's say?
Thank you very much, Nicolas. So in terms of projections and what opportunities are there, let me give just an example. If we look at hospitality, the number of rooms, just speaking of hotels or lodges and so on and so forth, in 2020, up to latest 2022, we had 18,480 rooms. By 2025, the target is to have 29,700, almost 30,000. So that's a difference of 11,282 that we want to have in the coming 3 years. So there's potential for investment, and that's open to be taken up, because even practically in 2025 we are going to host the World Championship of Cycling, and that is going to attract between 20...
Sorry, what was that? Rwanda is going to host what?
World competition, cycling.
World Cycling Championship
yes,
in Rwanda?
That is it.
Okay.
In Rwanda, 2025, just 3 years down the road. So there's potential. But even in terms of MICE, conferencing facilities and other infrastructure, currently we have the Kigali Convention Center, which has a capacity of 3,000 people. We have Intare Arena that has 2,500. The biggest we have is the BK Arena, which has only 10,000 capacity. So there's still room for investment and in infrastructure, really development of those facilities, leave alone also investment in the whole chain, especially when it goes to MICE. There's production, there's lighting, there's sound, there's AV. So there's potential, because that's a whole new infrastructure, I mean a whole new industry, only 5 years old down the road, and we are growing at a fast pace. So how easy is it? Rwanda is known to be the second easiest place to do business on the continent. So we have that ranking because... I'm not going to ask which one is first. Yes, because there's room for that. So if we're known to be the second best, easiest place to do business, it's because we are open to business. And I will tell you only 3 main things. There's so many. If you come and you're interested, we can give you details. But the first thing we offer you is a destination or a country of intention. I elaborate on this. This is a country where there's a will to do it, and there's a saying that says that when there is a will, there is a way. As we always add that there is intention, and when there's intention, there's always a way you're going to have things work out. So where there's intention, things happen and works. Proof of concept was hosting BAL in Rwanda in a bubble concept that was new to all of us. Nobody had ever known about preparing a competition of that magnitude in a COVID pandemic situation in a bubble. So we are a proof of concept as a destination, a country that when there is intention, things work out. So that's the first thing. The second one is a conducive environment that has non-fiscal and also fiscal incentives. I'll go straight to the point to those that concern this sector. And the first one is access to land. First of all, in Rwanda, whether you are an international person or a local, regional, there's no difference in terms of the rights you can have on land. So that's really something very important. And if you want to develop an infrastructure, you can lease the land up to 49 years. And that's renewable, 49 years. So I'm very young still. I believe when we add 50 years around here, all these investors will still be doing business, so 49. Another thing is that you can have corporate income tax holiday, up to 7 years. Of course, if you have an investment that is $50 million US dollars. Hotel equipments are exempted from import duty. Anything you're importing in Rwanda that is going in hospitality sector, in hotel, machine, equipment, name it, it's exempted from import duty. And if you're an international company and you have your headquarters in Rwanda, you are also exempted from corporate income tax. So this is really an incentive which you can find in very few places. And some of the non-fiscals, for example, you can have free business registration. When you come to Rwanda to register your company, within 6 hours, it's registered. One-stop center, you come to the Rwanda Development Board, register your company, and from there you can get all permits you need. Land, access to water, electricity, infrastructure. Every single thing you need for your operation or business to start and function, you can get that one in one stop center, Rwanda Development Board. And I know experience elsewhere sometimes may take even months and months. So we've seen so many players coming to our destination because of those facilitations that exist. And last but not least is that we are a destination that will make you live also an exceptional experience, because we believe in a story. We believe in a story behind everything that people are doing, and that is a story of self-dignity and resilience. In our language, we call it agachiro. So when you come to Rwanda, we'll give you more and we'll let you know more about agachiro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelly. Just want to be sure.
Thank you.
Just want to be sure I get that right. So you need to create how many rooms? 11,000?
11,282 by 2025.
You need someone to come and build
Absolutely.
11,000 rooms.
Someone or someone's.
Someone. Okay. Just want to be sure I have that right. So, Robbins, you're organizing the Africa Cup of Nations, and it is that big of an event that you're going to have to accommodate 11,000 volunteers.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the actual staff, the players, the fans.
The team, the fans. Yeah.
Overall, how many people do you think? I mean, what is the assessment you need to accommodate anyway?
I think 55,000.
55,000.
55.
And for more than a month, right?
Yeah, more than a month.
That's because the suppliers, the staff
Supplier,
manager.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, fine. So then my question to you at AHIF is, how are you going to accommodate them? I mean, how are you doing it?
No, the fact is, that is a big challenge, to provide a quality hospitality in this competition. Regard of the international standard or the request of the African Football Confederation, you need 225 hotels and maybe more than 11,000 beds. But the fact is, in Africa, you don't have a country with all that capacity at the moment. You don't have it. So you start to look some solution. Maybe some state, like in Ivory Coast, build some buildings around the stadium, and some in other we use some house, we rent some house, or something like that. But you cannot build a sustainable ecosystem if you are not able to provide high quality services. And the reality is if you want to create some value in sport business in Africa, I think the minimum is you need to be able to provide a big quality of hospitality, because this is very part of a customer experience. Because how you live, how you reserve your room on internet, how is the quality of services, the quality of breakfast, all of that is the part of customer experience. And if Africa continent is not, we don't have the vision to build, to upgrade that quality of hospitality, we're not going to be able to bid, to organize an international big event in Africa. So if we look the case of Ivory Coast, the government make a lot of investment, and we hope it's going to be the best AFCON of the history. But we need to do more, because we have a lot of potential. And if you look AFCON, you also have maybe BAL, you have maybe in future international cycling competition in Rwanda. The thing starts to move, but we need some professional people like Pierre to come and think that my company or Nicolas Owen want to be part of that big business in Africa, but we also need some partner like them to come with us and see how we can make it happen.
So, according to you, what should be the model the hospitality industry should consider? Because today you are organizing the Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast, but I mean tomorrow you're going to organize the next one and the one after that.
Or maybe the World Cycling Competition in Rwanda.
Or the World Cycling Competition in Rwanda. Yeah. So what is your? I mean, you are a businessman. What is your message to the hospitality industry?
No, we need to think differently, you know. We need to think differently, you know. You cannot build a single area or venue like you make it 5-10 years ago. Do you know what is the using average of a stadium in Africa per year? 16 days.
16 days.
16 days.
So the average use of a stadium in Africa is 16 days.
Yeah, exactly. So you put 200 or 300 million.
No wonder why there are trees growing.
Yeah, exactly, you live. So that is not possible more. So you need to put that in the package. So in the same location, you have maybe hotel, venues, stadium, you know, maybe some hospital, some entertainment place, some leisure place. So people come there to enjoy it, spend time, you know, and live. So hotel can propose some hospitality to people who come for the sport event. Maybe come to have some checkup in the clinic, or just come to have some fun in the place. That is the new model. And we need also to train young people in Africa to learn them what is the services, you know, because customers need to feel special, you know. So you need because in Africa, some people say no, it's quite easy because we are in Africa. No, we need to train and to show them is a job. You know, it's a job, it's a passion. We need to train them for what is the services we can provide to people or to somebody who come to consumer.
Tell us a bit more about that model you're referring to. So you're talking to hospitality industry here. In my experience, all the industries are working, our tendency to work in silo. You know, they know what they know, but you're saying something else. You're saying, well, there are sport organizations and they are doing their sport and their competition into places which are arena, stadium, whatever, what you, Kyle, refer as anchor tenant. And in fact, it is dragging so many people, not 1,000, not 2,000, but as many as 700,000, whatever, etc. And so maybe around those arena, we should have more than a few people selling sandwiches.
Exactly. Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah. No, you know, the fact is, the future of my business, or the business of sport or entertainment, it's intimately linked with the capacity to provide quality of hospitality. If you take, for example, for Rwanda Arena, and I think Kai is going to share that with you more. In the same place, maybe with the same team, you have hotel, you have venue, you have some commodity around. So I come with my kids, maybe because I have some meeting, but my woman can go and do the shopping, and maybe my kids go to the leisure place across. So if you look, the average coach, when somebody come only for the stadium or in this new area, it's not the same.
Experience.
Exactly. And the same team, you can use the same team to manage the venues and all the services around the location.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Robin. So we are moving back to venue management. We are coming back to venue management, right? So, Kyle, you mentioned the huge potential, and the Big Arena is proof of that potential. Again, you mentioned that the venue you are managing, the Big Arena, the Kigali Arena in Kigali, to your knowledge, is the venue which has the highest rate of occupation during the last 12 months globally. Which is crazy, but you stated that, right? So how do you think the hospitality industry can take advantage of that? And you mentioned it's a potential, huge potential across the continent. Again, we are at AHIF. How could the should in fact the hospitality industry take advantage of that potential?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you bring in 500,000 people into one space, you ultimately are going to have an impact on occupancy if there's a hotel nearby. So I think that's the fundamental impact that we can speak of. But you know, to tie it into a lot of the conversations that have been happening, I was listening to a panel that spoke of the new concept called leisure. You know, I think that used to be called business tourism. Is now business people coming into one space, enjoying their surroundings, and then moving on. So, you know, there was a show of hands of how many people are staying in the area post this conference, and there was quite a number of people who put their hands up. Now, if you bring the entertainment and you bring the sports into the area, you're adding on to that. And I think this term leisure is really the glue between what we are doing and what the business tourism is doing. And that's where we will see the impact really take place with regards to the hospitality industry. You know, I think we are sending this message out as much as we possibly can, because I think the day the hospitality industry, the sports and entertainment industry sit on the same table, have a discussion, and figure out how we grow these ecosystems. You know, don't go and build a hotel halfway across the city, build it right next to the arena or the stadium, because ultimately you're gonna impact that entire community, and that starts to move outwards. You know, we in Rwanda are now busy on a project that it's an 80-room boutique hotel, which is right next door to the arena, and that's a proof of what is happening, and we really want to take that model across the entire continent. Is how do we encourage and push people to come into the space, invest in it, be it hotels, be it convention centers. So that when someone comes into the area, maybe they spend, you know, $20 in our venue, but the minute you add these pieces on, you know, that individual goes up to at least $200-300 for the day that they're in the space.
So now I'm wondering, is it possible that you and Robbins and you're actually talking about the exact same thing?
Of course.
Let's move to Jason to see what he thinks about that.
I wonder what I'm going to say.
Jason, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
Potential, Africa, how should the hospitality industry take advantage of that? I know you have a concept. You call that experiential.
We have another company which is in development, and it's based around experiential holidays and journeys curated by influencers. Now, the reason why we said influencers is because we're in the world of the influencer on the internet, but that influencer can be sports, music, food, it can be anything that's influencing people to travel. And we believe that people's holidays now becoming more experiential, and Africa has got the most experiential continent.
So define that for me. Well, my question was, how can the hospitality industry take advantage of that youth potential you all describe here? So
by working with people like me and Robbins and Kyle.
Describe that to me like if I was 14.
For an example, where we do a music event, a large production, high volume, very financially risky music event, working with us as a promoter is a long-term strategy for your hotel or for your area. Because the people that come to our music events for a 3-day festival, they post about that location 365 days of the year. So they are constantly marketing your hotel, your area, your town for the rest of the next 5 years. Because we concentrate on our customers' experience and giving them the best festival and holiday experience of their life. If you go onto any of our socials for Afro Nation, you will see that, or you will see people saying, best week of my life, best week of my life, best week of my life. That's a positive narrative that you can't buy.
I'm telling you.
Was it the best week of your life?
It was the best week of my life.
That positive narrative, you can't quantify in a marketing budget. You've got genuine customers who've trodden the path to your hotel, to your location, to your town, to your venue, talking about it in their own socials and being the best ambassadors for your business.
And I'm guessing some of them may come back with...
They do. What we found, wherever we've gone to a new location, what you find afterwards, the year after, is people that weren't able to come to the event, or people that have come to the event, they come back with their husbands, their wives, their children, because all of a sudden they've got an affinity to that location. This is where I was. This is where my children went.
So Jason, let's do a little role play, right? I own a hospitality chain, an hotel chain, etc. So how do I do experiential holidays?
So let's just take this area here, Taghazout. Let's just take this area. They've built some fantastic hotels. It's not going to be busy all year round. A promoter like me will come in a shoulder month. So if your peak months are October to March or March to whenever, we will come on the month before, the month when you've got to bring all your staff in, you've got to refurbish your hotels and get ready for your busy season. We would then do our music event to launch the season. You've got to be persuading me as a promoter to come and work with you guys to come during that shoulder month.
Because you're going to bring...
Because we're going to bring tens of thousands of customers to your location off-season who will then help promote your region, your group of hotels all season. But it has to be a joined-up thinking. Hotels have to work together, which is sometimes quite difficult in the current climate financially. But we can't do an event with just one hotel. We would have to use the Hyatt, the Hilton, we'd have to use the whole strip of hotels to do a large event here. But then we would use our marketing tools, we will use the artists to promote this area as a safe, friendly, really good place to come on holiday. They'll come to the music event, but then they'll come back and I've come here for a business conference and I'm sat here talking to Nicolas and thinking, I'm going to come back here with my wife and my children. And that's what you're fostering. It's not just about the music event. If you take the music event out of it and use it as a marketing tool for your tourism, then you start to understand what the benefits are long term. And a lot of hospitality people, hotel managers, tourism boards just think of that one impact of that one event. But also that one event, you're selling your location to loads of other promoters, loads of other people who will think, well, I want to go in that space. Why are they there? There must be new tickets for us there. There must be new money and new opportunities for us there. So wherever we go and do an event, other promoters will contact us. They'll contact people that we post about and say, can we go and do an event there? We've got an idea.
Yeah, but Jason, remember we are still in the role play. I'm still the owner of a hospitality, whatever, right?
Get your checkbook out.
Okay, so I don't need you. I don't need you. I mean, I pay some event manager, there, whatever, you know.
But does that event manager live?
I know how to organize.
Does that event manager live where you want the source market to come from? If you're trying to drive international traffic to your region, which we believe there's the whole of Western Europe and the whole of America ready to get on a plane and come to Africa, if you give them that reason, you've got to be in that space. So we specialize in working on our source market. So the whole of the East Coast of America, the whole of Western Europe, we know that if we promote an event properly, we can persuade people to want to get onto the plane.
So you can bring me, still in a role play, you can not only bring me people which are going to pay for my room for a certain period of time because you're going to organize something I can't. You're going to bring me the Craig David and the big shot of the music industry, whatever, the big singer, I don't even know the names. But on top of that, you can build a model for me and it will promote my hotel and I mean...
Yeah, so we do our own events and then we work with tourism boards where we will help their marketing plan and build that around the event industry, and that's based upon our years and years of experience of doing international events. So I specialise in the international event side of it, but I come from a hospitality background, worked for De Vere Hotels in the UK. So I understand rate view, all the systems, but I also understand that sometimes you're yanking the rates up of the hotels because I could be working with the Fairmont and I could be doing an event here and automatically it pushes the rates up in all the other hotels on either side, and the Fairmont would lose out because we've got a fixed rate. If you don't work together, what you do is you squeeze the customers coming, so the top end of the customer are getting charged a high rate for the room, so they won't come. And then you've not got a long-term sustainable model by chasing the room rates for one weekend. Now they look at it and think, where's my source market coming from? Is my source market getting on the flight from Manchester to Agadir and being bussed down to the Fairmont like I've done? Promoting to that source market and telling that source market, where to go to is what we look at and what we specialise in. And there's other promoters that are like us, they're just not focused on the continent like we are.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to remind everyone, you are moving 700, close to 1 million people a year.
The target for us is to be moving £1 million customers around the globe to our events. We get to there, we'll be successful. We're only successful, really successful, if Africa takes a central point of that of our business. We don't see Africa, if like you were saying before about the customer, the player. I'm not successful if I don't go to America. We're not successful if we're not successful in Africa. We have to be successful in Africa for our company.
Thank you, Jason. So Manyo, I'm watching TV all the time, and there is a guy constantly popping up on my screen everywhere I go. His name is Amadou Galofal, I think. And the guy keeps saying that sport is not only sport, it's actually a business. Can you tell him more about that?
Yeah, so when you look at the NBA just as an example, the 30 teams in the NBA are owned by 30 of the richest people on earth, right? They don't just own a sports team just for fun. They own it as part of their business portfolio. And as part of that, there are real estate plays where that, as Kyle was saying, a sports team can be an anchor tenant, and then all the other entertainment assets are wrapped around that. Now, you also have to understand, similar to what Jason was saying, increasingly global content providers are looking to Africa as a last frontier. When Jay-Z wants to do a concert, Kanye, whoever wants to do a concert, if they look at Africa, there is no way for them to string together a series of events that make sense for them financially. Initially, the constraint was you didn't have enough venues, and we led those conversations. Rwanda is an example. There's a new 15,000-seat venue in Dakar. There are new venues coming up around the continent. The second constraint is hotels. For international artists to come and for them to bring their fans, like Jason was saying, you need to have places for them to stay. The third constraint is flights. And Jason has a lot of information about that as well. But increasingly, all of the content providers globally, the big global brands like the NBA, the BAL, Afro Nation, et cetera, are banding together, and we're actually collaborating to bring these global properties to the African continent. But our constraints are the infrastructure. And that's where we need both the private sector and governments to work together with us to make sure that those things are here, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to grow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Manyo. So it seems that here at the Africa Hotel Investment Forum, we established that sport and music are two industries which are not hospitality industries. They are different industries. They are not industries which are used to be represented at that trade event about hospitality. But it's relevant because you are actually what you call anchor tenant. Let's use plain word. You are just like organizing large gathering of people, mass gathering of people for several days sometimes. You for months, you're going to have, as you said, etc. You are moving around the 700, close to 1 million, etc., etc. And so those people need accommodations, right? Yeah. So there is an opportunity there, specifically on the African continent. And if there is one take for me, is the model you described around an arena or a place where competition is played to always have, I don't know, an hotel, but maybe more restaurants, shopping mall, etc., etc. Thank you. Thank you, Nelly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Kyle, thank you. Jason, Manyo, thank you for making the trip to Agadir, beautiful Agadir.
Pleasure.
And I'll see you around.
Thank you, Nicolas.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.